So alright guys, welcome in this video. In the last video we have talked about the geometry velocity blur, and we have said that whitewater velocity blur is not going to work because they are volumes. We have used our rasterization here instead, so we have made the velocity blur in the volume rasterization. Actually, we have enabled also the geometry velocity blur in the in our mesh. So here in the render preview, if we see here this rendering in this mesh ocean node here, look at this result. This result without this allow motion blur function here, and this result is with the motion blur applied. And this motion blur is a different kind from the velocity blur. Velocity blur blurs based on the velocity, and this this here computes the transformation or recognizes the movement between frames. If the object is moving fast, it will blur it. So this is useful in our rendering, so I can apply it in the rendering of the whitewater, the ocean. And now I have created a new mantra node, and in this mantra node I have the same settings as the other mantra nodes, or the mesh ocean mantra node, but I will render just the navy plane, and I will force mate it with the whitewater and mesh, because I just want when I just put the navy plane in the compositing, I don't need it to cover the whitewater mesh or the the whitewater or the mesh. I just want to render the areas from the navy plane that is not covered by whitewater or mesh. Okay, and in the mesh ocean I'm just going to force phantom it with the navy plane to get the reflections and refractions from the navy plane. The whitewater, I will also get the reflections and refractions from the navy plane. Okay, as we have said before, I'm just going to render before we convert it into VDB. I don't need this, and I don't need this. I'm just going to render it after the unpacking. And actually this navy plane here has its UVs exported with it. So I've just created a basic liquid material, okay, because we don't have the old mantra surface shader, and I don't need to use principal shaders. Okay, actually you can use principal shaders, but I love to use my old way. So this is the basic liquid shader. Okay, it's somehow heavy. Okay, where is it? Anyway, this is the shader I've created. This is a basic liquid shader, and I've renamed it to plane. Here in the surface settings, in the diffuse, I've increased the diffuse intensity to 1, and I've used the color map of our plane. Okay, they are actually attached in the course file. This base material albedo.tga is the color map, and I haven't used any base color or the point color here. Okay, this is for the diffusion, and for the reflection I have used the specular map. The specular map is just this base material specular. And reflection mask map, I have used the gloss material here, and I didn't use any refractions because they are enabled by default in this shader. In the displacement, I didn't use displacement map. I have just used the normal map, and this is the normal map here. Okay, so this is for the shader of our plane, and its integration in the different mantra nodes to get different passes. Actually, if you just see here, this is the rendering at frame I think 26 or something like this. And if you see here, we have also our passes that we can play with in our compositing, and this is rendering in frame 54. You see here that the only exposed area from the water is just the area that are rendered, and this is useful for our compositing, and all of these guys will be covered by water. Okay, so yeah, this is for our plane. And for the motion blur, another thing that you can do to make the viewport really light is to add a null node here and make the rendering flag on the file node here, or on the node that you want to render, so it shows nothing in the viewport, but it renders the file node. And you can just do this by creating a null node, then put the display flag on this, control click to put the render flag, so it will display this in your viewport, but it will render this. And the same for the white water. Okay, this is for this video. Actually, another thing that we can do is to add an area light like this here. You can just add an area light by control clicking here, then click this look camera in order to be able to move it like this. Okay, I have added this area light with intensity of 0.85, exposure of 9, and if you look through it, it's like this. Okay, yeah, you can use your own settings and lightings, but a simple lighting scene like this will work. This is for this video, and the next video are going to render vorticity and velocity, and this is the last thing before we do our compositing. Thank you.